Okay.
Yeah.
So everything that's here now. Okay, let me just switch off the.
Oshi, I'm still not able to get the link.
Just give me a second. The link. Yeah, I'll give you the link in the chat box.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Good to see you all here. So can I just ask that while you join, you take use that QR code. I'm sure you know how to do that. Just point your camera and use that QR code. The alternative is that you go to, if you go to, sorry, just go to the website slido.com and you can do it. Okay.
I've also just put in the link that you can just click and it'll take you right to the slide.
Right. So if you click directly on that link that Becky has put on the chat box, then you can go to Slido. In fact, we could, if someone could, let me just put that link on the website as well. Sorry, on YouTube. Let me just see how we could do that. Okay. Okay, so if I just put that link that you gave me from the chat box, which is that. Okay, so I've put the link to the so those of you who are watching on YouTube, then I've put a link to the Slido so that you can have a look at that. And the other way, I just want to say for those who are on the YouTube at the moment who are watching, I think there are 4 or 5 people watching. What I would say is that the best way to watch these webinars is on Zoom. Then you can interact a lot more. And the way to do that is to make yourself an account on revisedradiology.com and just click sign up. And once you sign up, you will come to this dashboard, and then all you need to do is register. And once you've registered, you can attend the strategies meeting straight away. So I just recommend that if you're watching this live on YouTube, then please come on to the website. It's much more useful that way. Of course, if you're not able to, then that's fine. So let's see who's here then. So we've got Aditi, Anjana, I think Bhupender, Debanjan, Abhishek. So where are you all calling from? Which part of the world are you? If you can put in the chat box, it also means that we can see. We know then that you know where the chat box is. So please put in the chat box where you're calling from. I hope you're all. It also tells me what kind of sacrifice you're taking, because if you're calling from somewhere like India or hi Abhishek, then it's quite a long way from. Yeah, it's like 11:30 there, isn't it? I think it's no, is it 10:30 now? It's 10:30.
It's 10:30.
10:30, yeah. So excellent, Abhishek, you're from India. And what about the others? Leeds, okay, Harun and Adish from India. Yeah, just put it in the general chat. And what about Sana and Hassan and Selo? We've also got IA. Anjana is from India. Excellent. So and Sana is from Iraq, I suppose, and Selo is from South Africa. Brilliant. We've got a real international audience here. And are you all sitting the FRCR, or are some of you just, I suppose you are, that's why you're coming to an FRCR to be, and I'm going to ask you some questions in a minute, but please, can you go to Slido? Please click on this link so that you're ready to answer some questions when we ask them. Okay, and if you have any questions for us, you can ask it as well, but we're also going to have a number of questions for you in a bit. Okay. What about the others? Salah? I don't think Salah has answered. And Chidigo Onwuka, where are you from? Chidiogo Onwuka, are you from Nigeria or Kenya or something? Somewhere like that? I lived in Nigeria for many years when I was a boy. So okay, I hope you're all Nigeria. Brilliant. I guessed right based on your name. Okay. So can I just have a yes from you if you've opened up your Slido? Can I have a yes if you've opened up your Slido link? Yes. And HPNV is from India. Brilliant. Do let me know if you've opened up your Slido link. Yeah. Okay, so Arthur Rajendran is watching on YouTube and is from India. Marwa is from the UK. Karthika, yeah, I think, where are you from? And okay, excellent to have a few people on YouTube here. And so Becky, you can also be online in YouTube. Just have a look at that link and keep a track on the chat for me there, please, as well.
Cool.
Okay, so we got 22. Okay, so John M and Niha, Tariq, where are you all from? Which part of the world are you? Are you in the UK? Are you in the Middle East, Africa, India, Far East? people, I'm sure, who all do the FRCR exams. Got 2 more minutes and then we'll get cracking. And I can promise you, you're going to have, this is going to be very, very helpful. At least I hope it will be. Just sip some coffee. So we have quite a bit to get through here today, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's actually a few months since I made the last presentation, and what we're going to do today is go through something quite general, kind of more general about the exam. But there will be some really useful tips, I'm sure. And my hope is that in January, February, and March, we will be able to kind of focus on each of those 3 major components of the exam, which is the rapid reporting, long cases, and the vivas. And so we should be able to do that in the next 3 months. But this is a very good start, and I'm sure you'll find it very useful. So if you can, guys, please go to reviseradiology.com. Those of you on YouTube, if you would like to, go to Revise Radiology. Otherwise, just it's fine. Absolutely, you can interact on YouTube as well. So that's fine. Okay, just a minute left now, maybe 30 seconds, and then we'll get going. And Pankaj said he's from India, exactly, and Neha from India. Excellent. So we have quite a few from India, and that I suppose reflects the fact that the exam is quite accessible now in India. You can do the 2B exams, and you can also do it in other countries. Malta, Cairo, I think, is coming in soon. Okay, well, it's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to start the recording, and then we will take it from there. So hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar, which is really going to, I hope, give you the confidence at the end of it on how to pass the exam, the FRCR 2B exam in 12 weeks. And I'm going to start by asking you to join us on Slido by using that QR code, or going to slido.com and putting in that number 372533, and then we can really interact with that. And Becky is also putting a link on the chat, as well as on YouTube. There's a link right at the top. So let's make this as interactive as possible. Okay. So I want to just start with this quote by Muhammad Ali. If my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. So really, you've got to focus on why you're attending this webinar, and you know, what is it that you believe will happen in 12 weeks time. It's actually about 100 days. You got a little bit more than 12 weeks, but I'm presuming that there's going to be holidays in between, but so you've got 12 weeks of proper preparation. And if you feel you're just going to sort of try and, you know, have a go at it and just hope, then you're not going to give it all you've got, and then you won't really achieve it. So that's what I wanted to really say here. So what we're going to do for the next hour or so, maybe a little over, is we're going to discuss, here's how, you know, we're going to discuss how you're going to pass your exam. But in order to do that, you've got to do 3 things. You've got to know your why, you've got to know your how, and you need to take action. So first of all, I have a few questions for you, okay? And I'm going to start the first question. So the first question has come up on Slido, and that is, so if you can go to Slido now and answer that question. The question is, have you passed your FRCR 2A exam? So I'd really like to see whether you've passed. I want to know who we're speaking to here. So go to Slido now and answer that question for me. And I'll give you a few seconds to do that. And it gives us an idea of you know, those of you who are on this call, you know, have you got 12 weeks? Have you got more than 12 weeks? And so far, I can see, you know, about 77%, 79% have passed their 2A. So 80-20, it's about 80-20, as they say. 80% have passed, or more than 80%. And so let's see now. Let's just wait a few more. We've got 17 responses so far. And we'll wait for a couple more if we can have some more responses. Okay, so approximately, if I just view results then, if I just put that, I just wonder, how do we, I just want to present that. Let me see if I can. I think if I just present that in a new tab, okay, just give you a second. So that is the results so far. You know, about 85% said yes, and about 15% have said no. Okay, so that's the first question. The second question I have then is, when are you sitting your 2B exam? So if you can go to the Slido link again and answer that question. All this is quite helpful, actually, guys. So when are you sitting? Are you sitting in March? Are you sitting in July, September? And if you're sitting at any time between March and July, because I know there's an attempt in April, just put July, okay? So we then have a rough idea of how many people need to pass this exam in 12 weeks. Okay, so I've had 10 responses so far. Please keep Slido open and answer that question for us. So we've got 16, as many as possible. We've got 35 people on this call now. So I just want to remind everyone, I'm just going to put that link again on the chat. And Becky, please, can you keep putting it on when there are more people coming on, because the people who are coming on won't be able to see that. So just want to say, click on that link and participate in this webinar. So we've got about 55%. If I just if we can have some more responses, that'll be good. So I think one of the most important things is to know your why. Okay, it's incredibly important to know why you are you know, sitting the FRCR. And then you've got to know, what does that mean to you? Have you got, you know, how are you going to do it? And have you got an action plan together? Okay, so if I just now stop that poll, and if I just share that result, let me see if I can do that quite easily. Sorry, if I just let me see how to do this. View results. Okay. I actually forgot how to do it the last time. Let me just see if I can show you. So that was when you're sitting the exams. We've got March 62%, July 15%, and September 15%, and a few who are doing it in 23. Okay, so that's really good. I have one more question for you. How prepared do you feel about sitting your FRCR exam if you were to sit it tomorrow? So that is the question. How prepared do you feel about sitting your FRCR 2B exam if you were to sit it tomorrow? And this is just a text one. So it's useful to just put in some text. So one person says 0%, not well prepared, 50-50, 50%, excellent. Any more responses? Any more responses? Not well prepared. Okay, 0%, 50%. So it's good that people have a rough idea where they are, you know. So just give me some answers there. You can put it in percentage if you like, or you can just put some text in. Inadequately prepared, maybe at 30%. Remember, this is all anonymous 10%, 20 to 30%. So we've got a fairly a number of you who actually feel that you're about 50%, some are 0, some are 70% even. That's very good. And one of you on the chat has said you've just passed the 2A exam. So I don't know, what does that mean in terms of your confidence? But yeah, I would give it a good shot, but don't think I've passed if you got it tomorrow. 60%. So we've got some lovely answers here. So thank you all for participating. Okay. And finally, one last question, because that's going to help us get going really. What is the one thing you would most like to learn from today's webinar? And I will try and make sure that I cover it in the time. It probably will be answered, a lot of it, on the webinar. Some of it might need you might need to attend the next one in January, but I think a lot will be sort of covered. So if you can just quickly type in, what is the one thing you would like to learn from today's webinar? How to pass the Viva component, brilliant. I'm going to make sure I answer that. A study guide, a Viva technique, an action plan that I need started tomorrow. Brilliant. I love that. I love people who have the sort of action plan to start tomorrow, what to read, optimal use of time and resources, how to study the huge material of FRCR 2B. Now, I will query that. I don't think it is a huge amount of material, because I think it's much harder actually, the ones that you have passed, the 2A. How to start the strategies, timetable action plan, optimal use of time and resources in 12 weeks, how to get over the fear of rapid reporting. It's a common one. A few people about action plan, resources, score good in the rapids, how to finish the long cases. Yeah, really, really important. Time management. I am going to cover that. At least give you a starter to give you the confidence when you are, as you get going. And what are the best resources? Okay, I hope I can answer all those questions. We've had 16 responses. I suppose most of you, the rest of you, I suppose it's fitting in somewhere there. So that's why you haven't answered. Okay, so we'll stop with that now. Keep the door open or the Slido open. Let's keep going. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Koshi Jacob. I'm a consultant radiologist. I studied in India in an institution called CMC Vellore, and then I came to the UK, did my MRCP in Plymouth, and then went on to do the FRCR in 2 deaneries in Cardiff and for 3 years, and then I moved over to Bristol. And in addition to having the FRCR, I've got 2 coaching qualifications, and so I am a trained and qualified coach. So my primary job, I'm a consultant radiologist working with, I worked in the NHS for a number of years, and now I work for a teleradiology company called Everlight and Teleconsult UK. And I did that because it freed up my time. It gave me the flexibility I need in order to focus on another passion of mine, which is revised radiology and helping people pass the exam. So that is what drives me. It excites me, and making revised radiology really good and improving the Southwest FRCR course is really what gives me the buzz during the day. We started the Southwest FRCR course in 2008, so we've been doing this for 13 years, and we've had some fantastic success. The latest results from last month was about 95% of those who had done some of our resources for at least 3 months to 6 months had passed. So that's about me. I just want to start off with the power of written goals. It's incredibly important to have written goals. So what I'd like you to do now is shut down any browsers you've got, any other browsers except the Slido. Don't be watching a movie while you're doing this, and get a sheet of paper, and I'd like you to write some goals, okay? There is a reason behind that, when they did a study back in the 1960s, I think they did a study of in Harvard, and they showed that they asked people, prior to graduation, that 84% of the entire class had no goals at all. 13% had some goals, that they'd said written goals, but they hadn't really got a plan. And it was only about 3% that had both the written goal and the written plan. And it's interesting that that 3% of the class that had both the written and written goal and the plan were making 10 times as much money as the rest of the 97% of the class combined. Now that is powerful, and I know it's been quoted a lot, but I myself know that when I've had written goals, I have achieved it. So I'd like you to set down some written goals, and then we will work together on a plan. You need to make your vision so clear that any fear you have, which I could see quite a bit of in the various things that we had there, that you have to make your vision so clear that your fears become irrelevant, okay? So, question, what are your goals for the FRCR? So again, I have got a Slido open now, okay? So if you can open up your Slido and start typing, what are your goals for the FRCR 2B exam? Write it down. No one else can see who it is that wrote it down if you put it in Slido, but it's a record of your goal. And I'd like you, in addition to putting it on Slido, to put it on the poll as well. Okay, so we've got some goals here. Let me just share it. Let me see if I could share that. Yeah, it's not coming up here, is it? Okay, what are your goals? The answers, I don't know if the answers are coming up. No, let me just go back. So that's poll number 6. Yeah, okay. So here are the goals that people are saying. To pass the exam on the first attempt, okay, write that down, excellent. To pass this year, which I presume means 2022, pass with high scores. I really, really like that, okay? Because it's those who aim high that actually do it. People who try and be borderline often find themselves borderline. And absolutely, it's one of the ways in which you can clear Franska, which is the Australian exam. So getting an FRCR is the first step. The Franska is actually harder than the FRCR, but it's a very good step, okay? And if you don't get the Franska, at least you've got the FRCR, which is equally recognized and opens up a lot of opportunities. Pass it as soon as possible. Now, I'd like to say to you, I'd like to say to you who wrote, pass it as soon as possible. That's not good enough as a goal. As soon as possible is very vague. So I'd like you to rephrase that and say, pass it by, give a date, okay? So the more I see here, putting my coaching hat on, that people are a little vague, okay? For example, we've got here pass in 2022. 2022 is a very long time, okay? It's 12 months. So I'd like you to start clarifying it and saying when in 2022 you'd like to pass, okay? Of course, you don't know whether you'll get a space, but I'd like you to say, when will you be ready to pass the FRCR exam, the FRCR 2B? When will you be ready? Put your date, put it down, pass it by March 2022, pass it by July 2022. So I'd like a few more responses. I've only had 11 here, and I think it's incredibly important to do this exercise because I think you'll find. So here we have another one, 2022, again, that's 2. I like this. Okay, this is what I mean by a goal, okay, that is well defined, was really well defined. Improve rapid reporting to achieve 7+ reliably. Improve long cases to achieve 7+ reliably. Improve Viva technique to achieve at least 6, which is the weakest component of the last exam. So I'm presuming you've done the exam once before, and pass the FRCR 2B in March 2022. Excellent. I believe that at the end of this webinar, and at the end of your journey with us, you will probably be looking at how to achieve 7 there too, okay? 7 to 8, okay? So I'm going to move on, okay, because I think we've done that. So why do you want to get your FRCR? That's quite an important question, but I'm going to move on from that. I'd like you to write that on yourself. Why do you want to get to? I'm not going to continue with this. And why is it important to pass the exam on your next attempt? So I'd like you to answer these 2 questions. I will put it on the Slido. I'll put, I think, what I will say is, I'll ask you the why question now, and you go ahead and answer that while I present the webinar, and then I'll come back and we'll look at the results of that poll. You'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine, okay? So what we're going to discuss here is that what you do daily is going to make a big difference. Now, some of you, I know one of you had certainly sat the exam before, and it's quite easy to lose momentum. It's very easy to lose momentum because you start off and you get going, and then you don't get a place in the exam, or you fail the exam, or you've had a distraction, or you've had something that breaks it up, a wedding or a bereavement or something like that, or a new child, and you can lose your momentum quite quickly. And it's pretty much now is pretty much the worst time to reduce your speed. So first of all, let's discuss the rapid reporting. Now, the main strategies for me, to you, what I'd like to say to you is, first of all, you've got to aim for 30. Aiming for 7+ is not good enough. And the reason I say you must aim for 30 is because the rapid reporting is the one section of the exam where you can score 30 out of 30, and it's very objectively marked. Whereas long cases and Vivas, there's a lot of subjectivity involved. With the rapids, you can score 30. The key skill in rapid reporting is identifying normal. Okay, if you can identify normal, most of you are good radiologists. You've been practicing in your own countries. You've been registrars for a couple of years now. Most of you know how to pick up a fracture, how to pick up pneumothoraces, how to pick up pneumomediastinum, and all those subtle things in a chest X-ray, for example. But picking up a normal study, knowing what a normal hilum looks like, knowing what a normal nutrient artery looks like in a bone, knowing some of the normal sort of the variants in a way, but they're not really variants because they don't show variants in the exam. But things which you keep overcalling, that is what you have to really get good at. And the other thing is that if you start the exam and real life are sort of different, and passing and the rapid reporting is a game, okay? And what I want to say to you, and I'm going to say this very, very clear, and I want you to understand this, that some of the things that you see, the subtle abnormalities you see on some of the packets of rapid reporting that you see in a lot of places, especially a lot of the free resources and even some of the courses, they can be very subtle. They can be so subtle. In real life, you might query it as a fracture. You might query it as an enlarged hilum. But in the exam, if they're that subtle that you're asking yourself, is it normal? Is it abnormal? They are probably normal. And overcalling is probably the #1 reason people fail. It's not because people undercall stuff. Generally speaking, by the time you've done 70 or 80 packets of rapids, the reason you fail is because you've seen too much abnormal stuff that you probably should have called normal. And in the exam, you would probably say, that's normal. If you understand what I'm saying, please put a yes in the chat box. So I understand that you know what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that you've got to be careful not to overcall. And if you go on courses or if you go on packets which are very hard, you will end up seeing hard, you will end up overcalling. And I don't mean to disrespect I think, for example, there was a course that I attended in my first year, which fantastic course, absolutely top quality course. And it's an amazing course to attend early in your career. But I found them so hard that when I did packets with in real life, I ended up doing too many abnormals. So there were very, very subtle pneumothoraces. And I saw little lines at the edge of the film, and I thought that's a pneumothorax, but it wasn't. Because in the exam, they're not going to give you something that is iffy. It's not good for them. If a lot of people get it wrong, it's not a good question. A good question is one where 70% or 80% of the candidates get it right. So if a lot of people are getting it wrong, that's not a good question. So every diagnosis that is on the Revise platform has been tested. There are a few very hard ones, and some of you who have attended it know that there are some hard ones, but don't go by those hard ones. Go by the general standard you're doing. There are usually 3 hard cases in every rapid reporting packets, including the exam, and they are called discriminators. So the college basically gives you 27 easy cases. A case which most of you who have done radiology for 2 or 3 years will get correct, okay? 27 of them will be straightforward, normals or abnormals. There'll be 3 which are questionable. And 3 questionable are the 3 which are usually abnormal, okay, that are hard to pick up. Now it's better, and this is where we come up with that magic number sort of thing. It's better to call it, if you're not sure, it's better to call them normal than to call them abnormal and get them wrong. But on the whole, if you see something that you say that is abnormal, then go for it. If you get 18 abnormal scans, x-rays, in your rapid reporting packet, I would put all the rest normal. And I would be very, very questionable if there are not at least 12 normals. It's incredibly unusual to get more than 18 abnormals. So if you get 18 abnormals and you're sure of them, be very careful if you're tempted to call any more abnormal. You've got to be pretty sure. You've got to go back and look at those 18 to say, are they really abnormal? Okay, so there's every single diagnosis is there. And I'm also now going to show you a system, okay, of looking at it. Okay, so you've got to use tactics when you can with what you have. Okay, and your key skill is identifying normals, and the packets you're using should not turn you into an overcaller. So what I'd like you to do is to make yourself a tracking sheet like this. You can take a photograph of this or a screen grab. Feel free to take a screen grab of this. Keep a track of how many overcalls and undercalls you do. Now this is automatically, if you're using Revise Radiology, which I think a number of you I recognize are using Revise, this already gives you that sort of, it gives you the way to do that in the notes section. But keep a track of how many overcalls and undercalls you do per packet. The magic number is 15. And what I mean by this is that if you've identified 15 definite abnormals and 12 definite normals, and you're unsure, if you're unsure about the last 3, call them normal. If you're sure about them being normal or abnormal, call them normal or abnormal. But if you're unsure, call the remaining 3 normal. Because if you have got 15 definite abnormals and 12 definite normals right, you've got 27. What you don't want, and this is a pass, okay? I'd like you to go for gold. I'd like you to go for 30. So if you can look at the remaining ones and decide if they're normal or abnormal, do that. But if you call them normal, if there are a couple of normals there, then you've pushed yourself to 29. And if you're wrong, then, well, at least you got 27. There's no negative marking. There is a checklist, and I would recommend you use the checklist. I'm going to show you where these checklists are on the Revise Radiology platform. Okay, so let me first of all then take you to the Revise Radiology page. So first of all, let's presume you've got your subscription, and I'll show you how to do that later if you don't have one. Go to the dashboard and click on Go to Rapid Reporting. So here you are in the Rapid Reporting section. Let's look at packet 1. Okay, I'm going to show you a little demo of how to use the Rapid Reporting section. We're half an hour now, so we will go through this, but I'd like you to get some value out of this rather than rushing, and I hope you're happy to stay on a little longer than 6 if you have to. So you can either start with the timer or start as the exam. So let's say you look at the first one. The first thing I recommend when you open up your browser is click on this little 3 lines, because it opens up the whole question numbers. Look at the case, learn the shortcode. So that's incredibly important. Before the exam, if you can learn these shortcodes by practicing with them, so press Z, zoom, press E, I think, P for pan, and Z for zoom, and P for pan again. Once you, if you know the key, if you press the keyboard with those letters and you know how to do it quickly, then you can quickly, work out abnormalities. So you can see there's a fracture there, and you would just say, okay, it's abnormal, and you can just say fracture, capitate, or whatever it is you want. Okay, and then you can just click next, go to the next case, look at that. You straight away identify the abnormal, click on it, click abnormal, and write fracture, third, stress fracture if possible, and you can use the word, the hashtag stress fracture third metatarsal. I don't recommend, and if you can say left, say left. Okay, so left, or just say third left metatarsal, and you've got that. Click next. Look at that. Okay, let's say you're looking at this, you're not sure, is it normal, is it abnormal? Perhaps you want to quickly look at it, you don't see anything straight away, put it as normal and put a flag, because it may be that you're unsure, is it normal, abnormal? You're just going to put a flag. Next one, look at the next case. Again, you look at it and you don't see anything, or you're not sure. You can say, okay, I see something there. I'm not sure. Is it normal? Is it abnormal? You can just put a flag and come back to it. Or if you're sure, you just say abnormal and you just say fracture left, left radius. And if you could also just write words like torus, something like that. It doesn't matter which order you do it, as long as you've done it. And then continue the picture. And you can see here while you're doing it that it's turning blue. It means that if you push on to the sixth question, and you look at this and you say, okay, you need to zoom, you need to window it. So you press W and you window it, and you look to see, is there an abnormality anywhere? Another thing to do is double click it, and then that brings it up into full screen, and look around, look at the edges, look at the film. And let's say you call this normal. Okay, now this is I think it's a difficult one, but let's say you call it normal, and you head out. You can say that number 5 has not been answered. So that means that later on when you're looking at it, it means that you need to decide whether you're going to, what are you going to do with number 5? And here, are you going to call that, or you're not going to call that? So then you can, you can say if it's normal or abnormal. Let's now think that you finish the whole thing. You click finish. And then they'll ask you, the system will say, okay, you said capture fractate. Now, obviously, I made a mistake there. So you're saying wrong. It was hamate. Okay. Number 2, fracture third metatarsal. Did you get this right? Say yes. And then number 4, fracture radius. Did you get it right? Fracture left proximal radius. Yes, I got it right. It's fine. And then you get your score. Okay, so it says that I undercalled. Okay, and that's because I named it wrongly, and I kind of did that. Okay, just to show you that that is also a mistake. Okay, so you need to make sure that you get the correct bone written down. Okay, so then you can go and analyze all the ones, and you can see all the answers, and you can look at the ones you got wrong. So here you can see, oh, I got the mistake with the, I got the wrong one, and it was hamate or whatever. And you can also write some notes here. You can say that was an undercall, mistaken, naming of bone. And early on, perhaps you'll make a few of these, okay? And and you click update, and you can click close, okay? And then you can go back to the next one, and you can look at that, and you can study it, and you can see that 82% of the time the candidates got this right. So I'm in a better percentile of that. Okay, now what I'd like you to do is, let's go back. Let me see if I can go back to this bit here. Now the other thing you can do is you can go back here. Let's go back to the packet. And here you can see all the attempts that you've made of that packet. So you can look at the last session you did, and obviously, you can see whether you got it right or whether you got it wrong. I'm sure that I did a few that were correct, like this one maybe. And in this one, in that one, I got it right, right hamate, I got it correct. And you can see that, I'm improving. And you can see that 51% of the times people got it wrong. So that is a hard one, but it's still a very, 50% of the people thought that was correct. So you can do a lot of analysis and look at yourself. And again, you can write notes. And if you go back to your revised radiology platform, you can look at your notes, and you can see, I've got some notes there, and you can keep track of that. I just want to show you also where those checklists are. And I think these are available to all of you, whether you've got a subscription or not. So go to musculoskeletal under the library, go to musculoskeletal, go to mind maps, and there's a mind map there with a rapid reporting checklist. There are 3 checklists there. There's one for the axial skeleton, and this is a list of all the various diagnoses. Okay, let me see if I can show you. Oh, it's not coming up very clearly. I'm not sure why. We'll just look at that later. I don't know why it's not coming up that clearly. It should be showing clearly those things. Let me try another one. I don't know if it's something to do with that particular one, but yeah. So if you click on that, it should open up, and you can probably it'll give you all in the lower limb the PEDS MSK cases that you need to be looking for. So it's almost like a checklist of diagnosis in the rapid reporting exam. And I can promise you that you will not get any rapid reporting question that is not in this checklist. There's not a single case that you will get in the exam that is not shown in the revised radiology platform. Between the 80 packets or 88 packets, if you do the Southwest FRCR as well, there is not a single diagnosis that is not covered. Every single diagnosis that's shown in the Royal College is there, okay? And it's also duplicated in here, okay? So the cases of feet will be one of these, okay? The cases of ankle will be one of these. So a checklist is a very useful way of preparing for the exam. And I used it as my checklist that I'm actually showing you. Right, so we need let me just take a sip of my coffee. Can I just have a yes if this is still interesting you? If it's boring you, then say boring, Okay, so let's continue then. Okay, so now we go on to the long cases. With the long cases, the important thing is getting faster in the longs and increasing your chance of passing. Time management is everything, okay? So you need to aim for about 10 minutes per case, but I would spend only 7 to 8 minutes on the easy cases. Now, the way you practice for long cases is the same as you practice for vivas. The long cases is a written version of your vivas. That's the first thing I want to say to you. The long cases is a written version of the vivas. So you do not need to practice separately in terms of content for the long cases. You just need to practice technique and speed. Okay. Amateurs practice until they get it right. Okay. Professionals like yourselves will practice their time management until they can't get it wrong. And Julie Andrews said this. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 essential time management techniques to conquer the long cases. The first one is to go through all the cases quickly in the beginning to spot the easy ones, those with the fewer modalities. Do those first, finish those quickly. Try and do it in 5 minutes if you can. And then only after you've done that, do you go on to the harder ones with lots of images, okay? The second thing is when you're looking at a case, I recommend you go straight to cross-sectional and then only look at the x-rays. Because once you've seen the abnormality, let's say you see a soft tissue mass in a CT scan, and you've got an x-ray as well, it's very easy then to look at the x-ray because you then know where the soft tissue mass is, so you know where you should be looking, and you can just describe, you can just say soft tissue mass on the plain abdominal x-ray. You could start your report with the x-ray, but you've got your diagnosis because you've looked at the CT. So look at the cross-sectional first. Number 3, scan through the modalities and sequences to get a clue. So for example, if you've got a nuclear medicine study and it shows a HIDA scan, you know that you should then be looking for something, that is connected to HIDA scan. Or if you've got a VQ scan, you know that you're probably dealing with a PE or an absent lung or something like that. That's what I'm saying. Look through the modalities. If there's a CT and MR and it's a liver MR, then you know it's liver pathology. So it just helps you speed up. Even without looking at the case, you've already worked out how you're going to do it. So I'm going to show you quickly on the revised platform how to sort of look at the long cases. Okay. So let's just open a packet. And while I'm opening the packet, I'd just like to look at the answers to the strategies. Why do you want your FRCR? So people have said because they want to focus on higher subspecialty training, to be a qualified consultant radiologist, to improve my career, less time studying, more time with family. Amazing. And for continued employment. Okay, so I presume that's someone in the UK who needs the FRCR in order to continue practicing. Okay, well, that's good. While that's going on, I'm just going to put the next question on. And if you can go to Slido and answer that question, why is it important to pass the FRCR? Yeah, well, yeah. So why is it important to pass the exam on your next attempt? And you can answer that while I'm showing you these long cases. So with the long cases, what I would do first, again, same thing, open up the questions so you can see all the different portions. 1.1, observation, interpretation, principal diagnosis, differential diagnosis, and management. Okay, so you don't need to fill up every box as long as the information is there, but I would recommend that you try and fill it out. Now, the hardest one to fill up is probably the interpretation. So you have to think a little bit around that, because often it's not just a copy of the observation, it's sort of interpreting it. So for example, what I mean by that is, let's say you have a X-ray of a bone lesion. It's well defined. It's got well-defined margins. It's I don't know, loosened, and it's got a little bit of calcification in it. The interpretation of that would be benign looking, non-aggressive tumor, okay, or lesion. That's the interpretation. And then the principal diagnosis, maybe enchondroma, and then you might have a differential for that, and then a management. Okay, it might have a fracture in it. Now, it's unlikely that you're going to get a case like that. So first thing I would do is quickly, go through the modalities to see which is the easiest one. So I've looked at the 6. I can see that case number 6 and case number 4 only have 1 each. So I'm going to do case number 4 first, and then you quickly finish number 4. Then you go to case number 6. If you can finish both these in 10 minutes, isn't that amazing? You've got a lot of time then to do 4 cases. Next thing I would do is go back, look at the ones with the fewer modalities. You can see 5 has only 2, 3 has a lot, 1 and 2 is about the same. So I would probably start with 5 because HRCT is pretty easy. Press the S button. So again, learn these by heart. Absolutely learn them. Memorize what is B, what is U. So you know that when you have to press S, you can quickly go through S. You straight away find the diagnosis. Then you go to the chest X-ray, and then you can say, the little lines of, interstitial reticular shadowing. It just saves you a lot of time. If you spend a lot of time looking at the X-ray, you're wasting your time. So it does help to just look at the CT first. Okay, so, and then you go to the MRs, and again here, this X-ray is incredibly difficult to look at, but if you look at it on the CT, you'll see straight away the abnormality. I'm not going to show you because it might just affect those of you who are going to do this packet later. The other thing I just want to say, another little technique, you could write down you could put a little dashes like this, okay? And you could say dash, 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 and you could have a management, for example, in the first one saying refer to. You could do this right at the beginning, okay? Investigations. So you could just write investigations, okay? And you could put a dash again and refer to. And then what you could do, if that's going to be how you do it, you could just copy and paste that to every single box straight away. It sits as an aid for you. And if you put those dashes in, then it saves you having to do that again. And you can again copy that, put it on the next one. You get my drift, right? You just put it on the next one. And you could do this within 2 minutes, I think. You could just fill it up and you don't have to then find the dash and all that. You've done all that. And again, you could make a few dashes for the observations and again, copy and paste it across. So it just saves you a bit of time. And these are all time sort of hacks, okay? So that's how I would try and save some time during the webinar. And again, when you finish, you can see the way you answered it. You can look at the full answers. You can compare that with your own answer, and you can give yourself a score. In the future, one day, maybe next year, we are introducing AI, and we are hoping that the AI can mark it for you and sort of give you a rough mark. I don't know how long it's going to take for that, but you've got a little, it's trying to teach teach the whole system to do it. It's going to take maybe a year or two to get there, and that's really interesting project that we're doing at the moment to look at that. So that is a little bit around the long cases, and I'd like to check with you that that you found that useful. Okay, before we head off to the Vivas, which is sort of the last bit, and then we'll wrap up after that. So a few yeses coming. That's great. In the chat box, brilliant. Okay, so with the Vivas, it's all about a good system. It shortens the road to the goal. That's something that Orison Swett Marden said, and it's all about a good system. So my top tip is to use checklists for better recall in every exam session. You need to know that have a checklist, and if you know the checklist, then you'll be in a much better position. Now you could have different kind of checklists, a modality type checklist, and I would suggest you take a screenshot of this, and let's say it's chest. Give yourself a few review areas that you're going to look at. So for chest x-ray, all of you know this, probably have a review area and keep track of that. So make sure that you have a checklist of the way that you look at chest x-rays, the way you look at bones, the way you look at pelvis, the things that you're going to try and avoid looking at. So for the chest x-ray, you start with the heart, and then the lungs, and then the hilar, and then the apices, the back of the heart, bones. Don't forget bones, and don't forget soft tissues. That pretty much covers it. But the other thing you could do is also have a diagnosis-based checklist. So you have a modality, and then like this, for example, with a CT, you might have a diagnosis of interstitial obstruction. So write yourself a list of things that you miss often. And in my case, it would be these ones, intraperitoneal air, bone metastasis, hernial orifices. So when I'm looking at a CT scan of obstruction, I will be looking for those things. I'll be looking at the bones, and looking at the hernial orifices, and I'll be looking for intraperitoneal air, which is something. And when you present, the only way around this is to present and present and present on the hot seat. So every modality counts with Vivas, and remember that in the marking of the FRCR2B, it's not case-based marking. It is marking per event, and an event is not the same as a case. So, for example, if you get the first case comes up, it's a chest X-ray. You are marked out of 8 on the chest X-ray, and then you're shown a CT. Each modality in that case is a marking event. Now, if the chest X-ray was a quick sort of just to show you something and move on to the CT, it may be, if it showed a quick pneumothorax and you had a CT straight away, then that may be one. But it's not the number of cases that you do, it's the number of modalities or marking events that you have. And often a marking event is the same as a modality, but sometimes two modalities can form one marking event. For example, let's say you were given an X-ray of a lung mass, and you said, the next thing I'll do is a CT scan. The examiner might just show you a CT scan and show you, okay, yeah, there's a mass there. That may count as one marking event. But on the other hand, if there is more in the CT, like bone mets and other things like that, I would expect that the X-ray would be a marking event and the CT would be another one. Now we've done these vivas for a very long time, and people often stumble at this point. They're very slow to miss abnormal. Okay, they need a lot of help with the diagnosis, and when they do get a diagnosis, they get a real poor differential. And the problem is that demonstrates to the examiner that you haven't done enough radiology, you haven't done enough work. Okay, so your aim is to show that first of all you've seen anything that's dangerous, you are not too slow to spot abnormalities, because if you are slow and you get a poor differential and you need help, you'll get a 5. To get a 6, you need to get the principal diagnosis correct on the whole. You need to get most of the abnormalities, but you needed a bit of help. You give a differential, which is limited. If you get a 7, you've picked it up quickly. You've made a very slick presentation. And that's what you need to aim at. And I've seen some really slick presentations among some of you who have been on our courses for long. You've made the correct diagnosis, you've got a good differential, and if you make absolutely no errors, you will get an 8. Okay, and this is a typical marking scheme. This is a marking sheet we give the examiners, and it's very similar to the one that's used in the college. So they have the diagnosis, they're marking you on observation, interpretation, deductions, clinical aspects, whether you've done the management, and most importantly, whether you're safe. So they will give you a score from 4 to 8 on each of these bits, and they'll write a little score. Now, you can imagine the examiner is doing this for every single case and every single candidate. It can get very tiring. So the co-examiner gets a score of this, and it's important that you need to prove that you're safe. And if you want to take a screenshot of that, I'll leave that in the thing for a second. Take a photograph or a screenshot. And this is a typical example of how it would be filled up. So someone who has got 5, 5, 5, 6, and 5, it's got 5.2. They take an average of the scores there. For here, for example, you got 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, but your safety was poor. You get 6.5, but you still passed. So this is the kind of thing where you notice the fracture in the aortic transaction. You created the internal. You saw the internal flap. You deduced there was trauma, and this person got a 6.6. He wasn't very good at deduction. He wasn't very good. He didn't know anything around the clinical aspects, but he knew his management, and he was pretty safe. He knew what to do next. So he got a 6. He passed. He just about passed. So you can see that it's hard. It's not difficult. And there were actually 8 cases in that packet, but the candidate only did 5. It was based on an average of this. His overall mark was 6. And the important thing is you need to reset your mindset for every marking event. And I fell under this, which is the first case I got, I did badly, and it affected every single, case after that. So you need to make a mental cue, almost like a red and yellow mark somewhere. You can imagine it. When you look at the red mark, if you've done badly, reset yourself, take back control. You could call it green if you like. If you've done badly, look at that, reset. This is back to the same, to a new case. Remember, you're not judged on the previous case now or the previous marking event. You are marked on the new marking event, however badly you did. Okay, the examiners are really cautioned to not let bias get in the way. Okay, because you might just be in, the examiners understand that you've had a hard day. So success is a sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. And the number one tool that you need to pass the exam is simulation. Okay, and So how can you use this to pass your exam? You need to practice in conditions that simulate the exam. And that means that when you sit a rapid reporting packet, don't do it just for fun. Do your 30 cases in 35 minutes with your 12 to 18 abnormals and each set. And if you do it on the revised platform, you've got a timer there to help you, because deciding what to do is as important as deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. So it's important, for example, to practice. So with the long cases, again, practice your 6 cases in 75 minutes on a platform. In this case, I think Revise probably has the only platform to do the long cases. So practice using the shortcuts, do it properly, set yourself your 75 minutes. Success is no accident. It's hard work, perseverance, there's learning involved, there's studying, there's sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing or learning to do. You need to love radiology, and you need to really enjoy the learning. So I'm going to now give you what you've come here for, which is a comprehensive Viva revision plan and a way to see more cases. I believe the staircase to success with the Vivas has 1,500 steps. How do you climb a staircase with 1,500 steps? One step at a time. And the confidence is a habit that can be developed by acting as if you already have the confidence you desire to have. Okay, so I'm not going to recap the scoring, but you need to have your scoring plan. How much are you going to get in each of this? In the exam, you need to check that your total score is more than 24. If you got 6 in at least 2 sections and you got an overall score of 24, you'll pass. But if you got less than 6 in 2 sections, even if you got 8 in others, you'll fail. But the good thing here is, let's say you get an 8 in the rapids and you got a 7 in the longs. Even if you got 5 and 5 in the Vivas, you'll pass. Okay. So you're scored in the longs on a basic based on the total score of 6 cases. On the rapids, you're based on the total score of 30. And in the Viva, it's based on the average of each marking event. You need to get a score of 4 to 8. So you need to get a score of 6. Okay. So I'm now going to give you our roadmap that we believe can get you through the exam. So with the Vivas, here's an idea that you start practicing on the rapids straight away. And I'm going to show you the rapids in a second. Attend online Vivas, okay? And we have an online Viva on the January the 8th. We have an online Viva on the 5th. And then from the 7th to the 9th, we have an online course, which is 3 days intensive with lectures and feedback. And then in March, you've got the March the 5th, you've got the online Viva. And then on March 14th and 15th, which is about 5 weeks after the 3-day course, you've got a final 2-day intensive course. And all together, you have about 7 full days of Vivas. I believe that you will see about 300 cases in that time and more potentially. And so that's your Vivas. You don't have to attend the revised course. You can go ahead, try and attend at least enough cases that at least 300 to 400 cases of hot seat, you get 300 cases and get as many hot seat opportunities as you can. Okay. In the courses, you will get probably 20 hot seats, but I would try and aim to get 100, 200, 300 hot seats, which you get through finding a study partner with which you can practice with. The best way to find that study partner is to go onto the FRCR forum on the Revised Radiology group online, which Becky can put the link to. Join the group, and once you've joined the group, you can put a request in there for a study partner, and meet on Zoom for half an hour a day or 1 hour every 2 days and do some Vivas between you. And ways you can get Viva cases. There are lots of cases online, free packets around. There's Radiopedia. There's if you don't want to, this is if you don't want to use Revise, you can get those. There's it's the important thing is practicing as much as possible. Okay, and with that, hopefully, you know, you get yourself a good chance. With the written, start your packets in December. I would recommend take a screenshot of this, that you do 1 to 20 rapid reporting packets in the Revise platform, and you do the first 10 long case packets. In January, I suggest you do 30 packets, one a day, 21 to 50, and 11 to 25. The packets 11 to 25 of the long case packets. So, you know, if I show you that again, let's go back to the packets. The long case do 11 to 25, and then in February you can do another 30 packets, 51 to 80, and do long case packets 25 to 33. And then in March, I recommend you repeat packets 1 to 30, because those are some of our best packets. And then do the Southwest FRCR packets 1 to 8 and repeat, and that's both written and longs, and repeat 1 to 10. So there's a lot of hard work involved, but what we are trying to do here is give you a guarantee that if you do all this, you will pass. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. Within 3 months of doing all these packets, you will guarantee to pass the exam. How does that sound? You know, does that sound good? Or, you know, good? You know, if you had a guarantee. So I'm pretty confident that you will do that. So while doing that, so please take a screenshot. If you haven't, take a screenshot of that. And screenshot of that. In fact, Becky, if you can post this onto the FRCR group, then you can get it there as well. So in the rapids, remember, develop a system of looking at the packets. Now we are summarizing here. Develop a system of looking at the images themselves. Finish one revised rapid reporting packet a day. That's, you know, 85 in 100 days, you'll finish everything. With the also, please attend the written packets. And remember, if you are part of the Revise platform, the other thing you get is all the recordings. Okay, so go to the recording sections and watch all the reviews of the long cases, and also watch all these topic webinars. There's some amazing webinars here. So this is the written report, and you can watch us do it live with Dr. Shana. And if you want to kind of look at just the written ones, just go to the written section, click on this, and you can we've got the first 18 done so far. By the exam, we'll probably have 25, 26 packets done. So there's everything is there from 1 to 18, and you can watch people do it in a Viva kind of platform. So those are another opportunity to get more Viva practice. Come on them, watch other people do it, be on the hot seat, participate, and you will get a lot. The other thing is a lot of our topic webinars are interactive, and there's lots of opportunities to be on the hot seat there as well. Okay, so use the notes section a lot, and use our checklist and develop your own. Aim for 30 out of 30, aim for 0 overcalls. And I can guarantee you, based on my experience and the experience of people who have done the exam before, which you can go online to see all the reviews, it's guaranteed to pass. If you keep doing the rapids, you will succeed. You know, you've got to think about doing big things while you're doing those small things. So it's important to keep thinking about those things. So I mean, what I mean by that is think about your success, but how can you pass the Viva section? I certainly believe that joining a Viva course will help. It starts with a single step, and not with thinking about taking a step. So book those courses. Okay, there are courses available. I think there are quite a few different course providers. Book the courses. You don't have to stick just to revised radiology. What we are one of the providers, and Vivus, as far as Vivus is concerned, I'm not saying that just do revise. That's not the only one. There are lots of them. But definitely there are some pointers that I would recommend that when you come to choosing a Viva course, you need to make sure. With the rapids and the longs, I think you need to practice as a bare minimum on the revised radiology platform, because it's the closest you have to the exam. So number one, look for a course with reputation, which means ask other friends of yours who've been to 2B courses, ask them about which courses they went to and how they found it, how much feedback was there. Make sure that it reflects the style of the exam. Are there one-to-one Vivas, or are you just, are the majorities just tutorials? So make sure that it reflects. Make sure that the examiners are, have been assessed, that they are regularly assessed, and that they really like teaching. We try and weed out people who are just coming there for some CPD points. We want examiners who are interested in teaching. Also, there's another trend which I've seen quite a bit of, which is that you run a course, which is, let's say, 3 days or 2 days, and 1 day of the whole course is just written packets. That means you only have 1 day of Vivas. You could have done the written packets and then another time. You didn't have to do it during the course. So I think it's quite important to choose a course where the whole time that you're on the course, on the physical course, or either online or not, you are seeing Vivas or you're practicing Vivas. So when it comes to value for money, if you paid for a course, let's say £400, and half the time is spent on Vivas, then and you spend 500 or 600 pounds in a course, but most of it was Vivas, and you get rapids to do on your extra, that is probably what I'm talking about there. Make sure that the platform for written packets is at least similar to the exam. Okay, at least similar. Okay, so let's now we're coming to the end now, I'm pleased to say, but we must all suffer from one of two pains. It's incredibly important that we either discipline ourselves, or we endure the pain of regret. And for that, we need to change the mentality we have, which is we need to change from a victim sort of mentality. Oh, the college is biased, or the college keeps canceling the exams, or I don't have enough time, I'm in a busy job, and all those excuses. I've got a child, I've got, all those excuses don't help you at the end of the day. You've got to move to taking ownership of the problem, which is, I want to pass this 2B. I don't want to do it once more. I want the next time has to be the last attempt. And so what is it going to take to make this the last attempt? And that's where I'm just going to answer the question, why is it important to pass in your next attempt? One person said, I need to start working in the UK. Time is going fast. Only 2 people answered that question, but make sure that this is your last attempt, okay? So you've got to leverage the time you've got. Okay, so set up your plan. So I'm going to ask you a few questions now. Go on your Slido now. Can you just show the Slido link again? And this is going to help you, absolutely help you in determining what you're going to do next. And I'm going to give you an answer right at the end on what you're going to do. Okay, so how confident are you in your 2A knowledge? That's quite important in how you plan the next 3 days. The reason for that is that if you're not confident about 2A, if they press you during the Vivas, you will get unstuck. You'll get stuck, I mean, okay? Or what? And the point is to not get caught out in your knowledge. So try, if you're not good at your knowledge, then I would say your top tip is When you see a case, go and read about it on Radiopedia or on StatDX. I would recommend StatDX because it's comprehensive. And the other big benefit with StatDX is, I'll show you StatDX quickly, is that it gives you a whole management section. Okay, so if you're not very strong on your management, let's say you're studying, give me a topic roughly. Okay, let's look at astrocytoma or something. I don't know, I'm just choosing a topic. Okay, so let's look at a topic like astrocytoma on StatDX. You've got lots and lots of images to look at. Okay, plenty of images, which each of them you can use as a practice for Viva. It gives you all the main clinical issues, gives you all the bits that you need to know. And the bit I really want to show you is the differentials. And importantly, for the Franska, pathology is important, but not so important for the exam for the FRCR. This is really helpful. If you know some of the demographics, the presentation, and the treatment, you can sound good. You can say, I would refer this patient for to the brain surgeon or to the neurosurgeon with a view to getting a tissue diagnosis, because if the patient is asymptomatic, and also I would like to, so that's one thing, to get a tissue diagnosis with a view to resection and adjuvant therapy, depending on the grade. Of course, you're putting yourself in a little bit of danger there. The examiner might ask you, can you tell me the grades? Don't worry if he asks you, because you can just say, I don't know the grades. That's fine. Okay. At least he's now trying to give you an 8. That's why he asks you such a question. So don't get put off by the fact that he asks you a difficult one. He's just trying to see how smart you are and whether he can give you an 8 instead of 7. Because if you've reached there, you've probably got a 6 or 7 already. But then you can also say, if the patient is asymptomatic, I'd like to request a repeat MRI scan. But looking at that image, it looks like the patient will be symptomatic. He's got high signal, he's got some swelling. It just makes you sound clever. Now, I said this to you just now completely off the plan. I hadn't practiced this. I hadn't thought of bringing astrocytoma in. That's the kind of slickness that I'm referring to that you can get by using StatDX. Okay, so how confident you are? Now, if I just show you there on what you guys answered, let me see if I can show that again. Very confident actually was 56%. Show results. Let me see. Yeah, very confident was 56%, and not very confident is 44%. So the 44% of you who were not confident, or 50% of you that were not confident, I would recommend that you get you every time you see a case that you're not sure about, read up about it so you get confident. Okay, so that's the point behind that. Second question, how many hours can you spend every day on average for the next 12 weeks? So I'd like you to give me some answers. I'm going to point it out here. Give me a number on average per day. How many hours can you give per day for the next 12 weeks? Okay, so I've got there 5, 4, 3, 8, 3, 2, 3 to 4. Brilliant. I love this. 3 to 4 hours, 4.5 to 5 hours, 4 hours. What I'm seeing here is clearly people have time to spend. Okay, there's only a couple who are only 2, but I can tell you, even 2 hours is pretty good. Okay, I'm glad that some of you said at least 2 hours, because I think anything over 2 to 3 hours a day for 100 hours is pretty good. It would be nice if you could spend 3 on average, okay, because you need some time. Let's just look at this. If you were to do a revised radiology packet, you would need about 100 hours, 110 hours to do it. Okay, so that's 1 hour of your. If you've got 12 weeks left, you're using one of those hours for rapids, you'll use at least one of your hours for longs on average, and you need to spend at least an hour for Vivas a day. If you do an hour of Viva a day for the next 12 weeks, I think, and in addition to that, you do those courses, a couple of, at least 2 or 3 courses, at least 5 days of courses, or 6 days. 5 is, I think, a minimum, because you not only see a lot of cases, and when I say 5 days, I mean 5 days of Viva practice. Okay, so I'm seeing a few 2s and 4s, so that's brilliant. So I can see that. Just a simple yes or no here now. How many hours of regular Vivas are you getting in your hospital? I'm afraid this webinar has extended, but I'm gonna go on for another 5 or 10 minutes. How many hours can you do? Can we answer? Are you getting regular Vivas? So far is 100% no. Let me see. Some are getting regular Vivas. Good. So the majority of you are not getting regular Vivas in your hospital, which I hope will change. If you, but if you're not getting regular Vivas, then you really need to. It kind of it's quite important. And so the 80%, 80-20 are getting regular Vivas. Now I'll go to the last question, which is, are you doing well on your are you doing well on your rapids? Have any of you done rapids? And if you have, it sounds like some people are getting 28 out of 30, so that's very good. It's again sounds like an 80-20. So 80% of you, or actually majority of you, seem to be not scoring 28 in rapids or completing the long cases on time, which is not surprising at all at this stage. Remember, you've still got 3 months to go, so don't worry about it. It's really nice to know that 9% of you are doing well. So then it probably means that you need to practice on the longs then. Okay. Finally, if you attended a Viva course in February, would you need some time to work on the feedback you got? So if you could attend a course in February or January, do you feel that would be enough, or do you feel that you would need some time to work on the feedback? Because one of the mistakes that I made was I went to courses too close to the exam. And the first time I want to make a confession here, and many of you know this because I don't hide it, but I actually had to sit the exam twice. The first attempt, 2 things happened. One is I had a mindset that I wasn't sure if I was going to pass. I was just going to go and see what the exam is like. Secondly, I did all my courses close to the exam. What that meant is when they said you need to do some more work, I had no time to do any work. So I failed. And also in the exam, when I went into the thing, I made the mistake of getting put off by the very first case. It just bombed. I lost it. I failed. And I failed only on the Vivas. I passed both the rapid and the longs. Let's go to attempt number 2. I started early. I went on a course. I went on one more. I think I actually went on a couple more courses. At that time, it was the entry course, brilliant course. If you can do it, you know, it's a good course. So I did that course and got good feedback. And when there was things that I had to correct, I had time to improve. Okay, so I had time to improve, and it really made a difference. So 91% of you felt that you needed some time to work on the feedback, but 2% felt, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, you know, and I reckon that you are people who are already ready for. You've sat the exam once, and you know. So I'm only going to tell you about 3 courses, and a lot of you who have come on our courses before have been quite confused by the various options. There are lots of options on the Revise Radiology platform, and I make no apology for it, and I'll tell you why. The reason we have all these various courses is because people have, because of those questions that I asked you, you need to know which one you need. You don't need, if you're amazingly good at Vivas, I don't think you need to do, for example, the deluxe or the premium course. I would say at best, you probably need to do the written and the standard, because the written is a must. You must do 80 packets of rapids and 30 longs. That is a must, and that is not extreme. That's, you know, for a sort of 3 to 6 month subscription, it's not too bad. You know, remember, you get a huge amount of feedback, you get a lot of support during the whole process. It's not one of these courses where you just sit it and then it's a computer marking you and that's the end of it. You have an online support group, which if you feel, okay, I'm not getting help, I can't get myself around it, you can contact us, we can help you. So that's why we have all these options. The written course is a must. This course, the all-inclusive, includes the written, but doesn't have any of the Southwest FRCR, the 5-day courses. So these 4 options, the online deluxe course, the premium course, the standard course, and the observer course, are for the 5-day courses. With the observer course, all you do is 5 days of observer. It's very similar to, there's a course in London called the Masters course, I think, which my good friend Samir does. It's very similar to that. I think it's a 2-day course. It's a brilliant course. I think John Curtis goes through 2 days of vivas, shows you cases and people on the hot seat. This is very similar to that. This is a 5-day version of that. And that is what that observer course is. So you get to watch other candidates perform. You see a lot of feedback. You don't get any hot seats. With the standard course, you get 5 days. You get 6. I mean, initially these courses were only 2 or 3-day courses. But what I did is I just felt a few weeks ago, why not give 5 days to everyone, you know? And instead of giving 6 hot seats over 2 days, why don't we just give 6 hot seats over 5 days and people get to observe more? So even though it's kind of spread apart and you might just get 1 hot seat a day and it's only 15 minutes or 25 minutes, it still gives you the opportunity to watch a huge amount of cases. And if you want extra hot seats, those will be available to purchase if you want to. I don't think it's as important. I think for the standard course, probably a couple more may be useful. But I suppose the best value for money for someone who feels, if you feel, okay, that you have good two-way knowledge and all you want is the rapid reporting packets and you want a 5-day course, then the premium course is the best course for you, okay? If you feel your two-way knowledge is good enough, this includes 5 days. It includes the to be written, so you get the 80 packets of 30 long cases. You get all that support. You get the online platform. You get to observe. I say 200 plus because I wanted to be conservative, but I reckon you will observe maybe 250, 300 cases. You will get 8 packets. You'll get 88 packets of rapids, because remember, you get 8 packets of Southwest FRCR packets as well. The other thing you get is complimentary, is the Revised Radiology Academy with all the recordings of all the vivas, the written sessions, all that you get. And there was an early bird offer for 10-15% off, but we've decided, for you who are on the call today, we have reopened that code, and it's open at the moment till midnight today. Okay, so that code is still open, and I'm going to ask Becky to put the code on. I think it might be actually there. If you click on early bird offer, if you go under more info, you can find the code. We've reopened that code so you can use that. Finally, if you feel that you need, your theory knowledge is not that good, then this is the course I recommend, because it includes StatDX. And StatDX, as you know, it costs about £1,600 a year. We've subsidized it. We've got an institutional membership. That is included for 6 months. Now, all of this is included for 6 months. And you'll be asking me, why do I need 6 months if I'm passing the exam in 3 months? Well, partly because we're just trying to give people who are sitting in July the same value. You know, it doesn't. We're trying to give as much value. It also sits as a guarantee that if by some chance you don't get a space on the course in March, if you don't get a space for whatever reason, you fall ill, there's COVID or whatever happens, you've got those 3 months as insurance. And if you fail the exam, God forbid you fail, you get 2 months extra put on top of that. So the premium code, Becky has just put that on the chat. It's on the website as well. And the deluxe code as well, she'll put there on the code. And if you want the standard course, there's one code which is available. I'm going to just put it there. It's 2 to 10 off for every other course. Okay, for every other course, if you use this code, you'll get 10% off. Okay, so that's what it is. The FRCR Rapids is the 80 Rapids and 30 Longs. The premium course includes that, includes the 5-day course, and includes the library. The deluxe is everything on this, plus the online Vivas, which is done every month, and the StatDX. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. Now I have one final question to ask from this, which I'd like you to do on Slido, because it will help us. If there is one thing, and I'm just putting the question up, okay, if there's one thing that you've learned or relearned from today's webinar, what would that be? Okay, if there's one thing that you've learned or relearned from this webinar, or you've got one thing that you think, I'm going to use this, I'm going to go ahead and use this in the future, what would that one thing be? And I really would like some responses, both from you on YouTube, as well as those of you on Zoom here with us on Zoom. So if you can answer that question, there are 19 of you on YouTube, and so this is the key things. These are the key things. We'd like to hear some of them. Okay, there's a question as well in the question chat on YouTube. If unsure of some abnormals and you relied on them for normalizing other films, may make one at risk of failing. Okay, let me try and understand that question. If you're unsure of some abnormals and you relied on them for normalizing other films, I don't understand the question, Mohammed. So I know you, Mohammed, so you can always contact me on Telegram. And if anyone wants to contact me on Telegram, I'm very happy to answer it. You can make an appointment, but I'm on Telegram, so you can contact me if you have any questions. So here are the one things that you've learned or relearned. You've got a lot to study. It's not study, it is preparation. Okay, let me start from the bottom here. Reviewing knowledge of every case you see in the Viva practice, which means that you probably need to look at something like StatDX. Now, the reason I recommend StatDX over Radiopedia is that Radiopedia is good for radiology. It's not comprehensive for every topic. StatDX is a lot more comprehensive. And that's why I think, and you have lots more images as well. Tips to save time during the longs. Yeah, absolutely. I think the longs is all about time management, how to approach the exam. Great idea of how to approach 2B, a lot to study, as I said before. And I like this. I will pass the next FRCR 2B examination. That's exactly the spirit that we want at the end of this webinar. I want this kind of enthusiasm, because that confidence is going to help you. So there's a question there. Does the RCR platform allow for copy and paste as well as undo? I don't know about undo, but it certainly allows copy and paste, because our platform is made exactly like the college platform. You can copy, you can paste, you can use Control-C, Control-D. And I know that that was a tip I got from Mohammed Shana, who is one of our presenters, and he used it in the exam. So certainly will work. Any other questions? Has anyone else had questions? So There's a question for me from someone about someone who paid for a course without a code. Am I able to refund? Well, we can't refund, but write to us and I will add some value for you. Okay, we will add something that you find valuable. We'll either extend the course or I'll add something that is definitely worth that 10% that you've lost. Okay, so certainly if you have already subscribed, we'll maybe we can give you an extra Viva, which is actually worth more than that, but it costs more than that. But you write to us if you have paid for a Southwest FRCR course and you've not used the code. Write to us. Becky, can you keep a track of it? We will give you an extra Viva for free. Okay, that was just an idea I got while I was on the call, but that's probably the easiest way and it's probably the best. Is anyone else?
There's also
Anyone
a
else wants to
question
write?
from,
Yeah,
does RCA platform allow
I've
for
already
copying?
answered that question. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I've answered that question. Yeah.
Thank you.
So is there anything else that anyone has as a question? I'm going to stop the share. If you have any questions,
Recording.
I'm just going to stop the recording now. This recording will be available to watch again on the Revised Radiology platform. It's a pretty long presentation. I was intending it for 1 hour, but I think looking at it, it had 92 slides and I was kind of optimistic to kind of finish it. But I hope that I haven't bored you. I hope I've given you some enthusiasm. I hope above all that you've got some confidence. And if that has happened for you, please can you click yes on the time in the give us some feedback, give me some feedback. And if we do have a feedback form, if you can fill that in, I'd be very, very grateful. I'm going to put that link again, especially if you can give us a review. That would incredibly help us. And also write in the group how useful it was in the FRCR group. Feedback helps me personally to develop as a radiologist. It means that I do stuff. When I make my presentations, I make them better. So please give us feedback. So yeah, I'm getting yes, a few people have found it useful. Thank you for that, and all the best. It's probably midnight now for some of you, so thank you so much for trusting us with your success. And I want to wish every one of you, whether you use Revised Radiology or whether we meet you again, whether we don't, I want to wish you all the best in the coming exam. But more than that, now in the immediate future, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. All the best. Have a COVID-free Christmas. I'm actually traveling tomorrow. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I'm hoping, like all of you, that we enjoy the next period. All the best, and thank you, Adish, for your comments. Very happy. Thanks for your time. Thanks, John. Thanks for your time too, guys, for giving me 1.5 hours of your time. Thank you very much for that, and all the best. Bye-bye.